Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. Welcome to the Vegan World 2026 Moonshot podcast, the special edition. And this week we are running the 7 days of rest and sacred renewal with the million vegan grandmothers and rainbow food and rainbow people. And to introduce you to this program, here is Tami Hay. Welcome, Tami. Tell us about this program and who our chief guest is going to be.
Great. Thank you, Sailesh. I believe that Gabriel just wanted to open us up with a quick prayer.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Merging the heavens and earth in heart and mind, which is key for the integration. Yishiniku, Kushabrihu, Ushinate, Be Ilu Imu Laya, Shimike Belovke, Bidashlam Hashem Kozrael Kolam. Amen. So feel the merging of heart and mind. Feel that oneness. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. We're on day 5 out of our podcast, our Moonshot podcast with Vegan World 2026. That's where we're heading. And the Whoa, great. There we go. Great. Thank you. So we're on day 5, which is the throat chakra. And we're also working in conjunction with the 7 days of rest.org with Dr. Shelley Ostroff and Jan Golding, who are residing right now in Israel, who have a 7-day program that they have been spiritually given as a way to begin our new year restoring ourselves so that we can make that connection from a more wholehearted sense of self. And so today is about sharing. So I invited some last to share. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'll actually.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So in last year, I was time that we would be going into a time when the grandparents would be leading and reminding the world of what we're actually here for. And when my grandchildren were born, as we're talking about the throat chakra, I would walk into the room and I would go, Om is here. And I invite you all to understand and really integrate within yourself the power of the word and the power of sound as we go into the throat chakra and talking about the rainbow food. Today, we're going to combine purple and red food. And we have so many honored guests here today as our sharing. Today, I'm going to introduce Dr. Gabriel Cousens, Rabbi Cousens. He has been my mentor and my teacher for quite a few years now, as I was honored to be at the Tree of Life and become a master student of Gabriel Cousens. And Gabriel Cousens is a Columbia-trained physician and family physician with training in psychiatry and went on to study Ayurvedic and holistic nutrition. He is a brilliant holistic physician with 13 world-renowned books, including Sacred Nutrition, Conscious Eating. One of the latest ones is Conscious Parenting, and Into the Nothing, his biography, his latest book. It's brilliant. I'd like to, Gabriel Cousens, the other thing that we're talking about in Rainbow Food, Rainbow People, and this year we're talking about how do we feed the world? How do we become food healers? And Gabriel often would say that we have enough food to feed the world many, many times over. You know, the statistics are quite massive, anywhere from 9 to 14 times over if we went plant-based, if we went whole food plant-based, if we went raw food plant-based. So there's no shortage of food. As Gabriel always would say, it's a hoarding of resources. And the animals do not want to be here with us hoarding the resources to feed them and imprison them. So I'd like to just finish introducing Gabriel with a couple just really short quotes. The first one from Spiritual Nutrition. Because here we're not just talking about the physical food we eat, we're talking about the power of sound and the nutrition of word and the nutrition of the colors of the vibrant living world that we live in. That's what we're here to talk about, all the nutrition that we've always been given access to so that we may maintain our sacred sovereignty. We're also here as grandparents and parents and lovers of life to bestow upon the world sovereignty, because unless we do some of the basic things for nutrition, we can't be grandparents of sovereignty. The majority of old people are dying of dementia, and we need to maintain sovereignty so we can be here for our grandchildren. And that's what I'm so passionate about teaching, that we don't have to degenerate. And Gabriel talks a lot about that in all his books. So a quick quote from Spiritual Nutrition. Veganism is a brilliant approach for elevating human consciousness. And from Conscious Eating, if our hearts and our minds are focused on experiencing food as a love note from God, as Gabriel would always say, eating becomes not only a way to nourish and love ourselves, but each meal becomes a time for enhanced spiritual awareness. Welcome, Gabriel.
Great. Really great. I'm very happy to be here and support really the vegan world and really the vegan consciousness, which is ahimsa, do no harm. Do no harm to yourself and to everybody else and to all the animal world. So how do we live peacefully with that? Now, as a grandfather, and actually I have 3 grandchildren, they're all teenagers. Well, one's a preteen. She'll remind me of that. I'm not 13 yet. I'm 11. But nevertheless, it's a whole way of life. And when they see us in their being vital, they have a model of what it can be like. So I often dance at my chronological age is 79, and I'm doing push-ups with the girls on my back. I have 3 granddaughters, and we dance and I can, I more than keep up with them. I kind of like, Grandpa's competing with us. But it's fun because the parents aren't there yet to really compete with their grandchildren. It's fun. So what we want to be as grandparents is not necessarily competing, but playing with. But when you're dealing with teenagers, it is competing. But I'll do things like, they'll sit on my back and I'll do push-ups with them. So they get, oh, he lives this way, this vegan way, and he's doing push-ups with me on his back. How can we, what's that about? I mean, the truth is I do 1,300 push-ups every 2 days, so it's not that hard to take a teenager and do push-ups. But my point is, they're seeing vitality. They're seeing what they can be. So, and they're also seeing people who aren't this lifestyle. We know that vegans basically live approximately 7 years longer, women a little bit longer than men. But in the United States, where we this year alone, we've lost 3 years off the lifespan. It's like a really important statement to see Grandpa active, vital, and eating a way that gives energy to himself. So that's one level that's important. The other thing as a grandparent is you can actually set a certain standard. So to me, food is energy. When the kids see me kind of eating, not that much, I just really have 1 meal a day, but they see the energy, they get something important from that. So as grandparents, we bear witness to a way of life that is successful at the grandparent age. It really shows up then. Okay? Doesn't show up so much between, in the 20s, but in the late, at age 79, yes, it shows up. And the kids get it. So itself is a teaching. Probably the most important thing as a grandparent is your self-example. And then there's the other thing that kids seem to like, at least my 3 granddaughters, and I work with a lot of teenagers, and they like the protection of animals. It's a big deal that animals are not being hurt. Now, I'm talking feelings of younger kids into teenagers. And so that's another piece. Another thing that's fun is the rainbow diet. Now, what's fun about the rainbow diet? Well, it's got a few colors. It's got the colors of the rainbow. So you're taking in this energy of the rainbow, and we're the treasure at the end of the rainbow when you're eating this way. And so for each energy center, chakras, there's a particular color. And so as I wrote my first book in 1986, that, for example, each outer covering of the food has the frequency of a particular chakra. So if you're eating greens, that's the heart chakra. It's like opening the heart up. And then we have the different, as they say, the different colors. So the point is that the kids get into the colors and kind of the arrangement. Now, I've been teaching meditation since 1973, and I expect, and it is my expectation that they follow it, that they're meditating with us. When we have a meditation group, I expect the kids from age 3 on, and it does work, and it is true, to meditate. So my expectations of the kids is a little bit different than, let's say, how things are today, where people aren't showing a certain respect to the children and the teenagers and their capacity to be spiritual. And then I point out that when you're eating this way, this plant-based only diet, you're taking on the life forces of the plant, and it enhances your life force. You're not taking the energy of death into your system. Now that actually is really important. Kids are, the children and the teenagers are pretty sensitive. Thinking about the idea of taking the energy of death into your system when you're young and sprouting, and you certainly don't want to be thinking about death, actually has an effect on them. Not to scare them and make them feel bad, but hey, this is live food. This is vegan food. Nothing got killed to bring this to you. And then people are worried, as Tami said, worrying about excess population. But the truth is, if you're eating a vegan diet, there's enough food to feed the world 7 times over. If you're eating a live food diet, enough food to feed the world 13 times over. It's like, don't worry. You eat this way, and you're saving the children all over the world. And believe it or not, you talk about the starving children in Biafra. I work in Biafra. It's actually Wayori, but I work with the king of that. And we got a lot of the kids and the families moving into this vegan way of life. It wasn't really that hard. And in Cameroon, we have over 50 farms, organic, veganic farms. And so another piece is getting them involved in gardening and growing the food. So organic, veganic farms, that's a lot, and it feeds lots of people. So they get involved in that whole process. We're doing that in Mexico too. And we have a organic, veganic farm. We have teenagers working on the farm so that they're kind of supports their spiritual growth. So we have different levels. And as grandparents, there's a certain amount of, they listened. Particularly when you can, say, compete with them. And I don't want to make a too big deal about that, but you can keep up with them. And kids like that. They're always wanting me to play chase with them and do things. So the bigger picture then is that as we're eating this way, we're creating peace, we're creating spiritual evolution, we're creating health, we're creating increased spiritual energy, and you're the example. Grandpa's the example. Grandpa isn't just lecturing. Come on, you can get on my back and I'll do some push-ups. It's like they get it. And so as a grandfather, it kind of inspires the children and the teenagers to say, wow, this is what I can be. I don't have to, start to diminish my life when I'm 50. No. Wow. And so that example is what's important here for the kids. And of course, we talk about health too. Not having dairy is a really big deal. Kids get a lot of congestion, earaches, and so forth. So they get it really quickly, no dairy. And I don't have earaches, and I don't have congestion. It's like, whoa, okay. So there's just really practical things they get. Now, the role of grandparents is to pass on, as I write in my book, Conscious Parenting, is to pass on the generational wisdom. The parents are involved in managing the kids, doing what they have to do, and they cater it so well. But for the grandparents, they can see and they can get the message of the intergenerational wisdom that grandparents in particular are able to pass on to their children. And there's just a special relationship between grandparent and grandchild, grand teenager, or way you want to say it. There's a certain role you play that is almost magical in their lives because of your age. You're a lot older than their parents, and you know more about life in different ways, and so those are really important things to kids. Now, we do know that multi-generational families, the kids are healthier. So even though I don't live in my children's house with like New York or San Francisco, we're part of an intergenerational family where they have generations not of wisdom, not just of wisdom, but also of love and of a way of life that works. It's again, you can talk as much as you want. When they see who you are and your level of health as a healthy vegan, as I pointed out, vegans do live longer, women slightly longer than men, then it's like, okay, this is a good example. I listen to you. You're my grandfather, but I also listen to you because I see who you are. So we have to be the examples. We have to be examples of passing on the wisdom of the generations. That means we have to be a little wise too. And these simple things, the diet is a really special way to be able to communicate. Because one, they see what you're eating. Two, they see how you're living. They see your energy. They're not taking in the energy of death, which is, again, more important than people realize. And they see that you're vital and alive. And part of the vegan world is to be vital and alive at any age. You're not walking around having arthritis or having this. It's like, well, my grandpa is different than your grandpa here. There's a difference here. So the power is seeing is believing. Okay. Yes, we preserve the environment, and I have a whole talk about that because the vegan way of life does protect the environment. Now, it's somewhere between 21 and about 50% less environmental toxic gases that get created, global warming gases that get created. And that's another thing, is who's going to inherit the planet? Your grandchildren, our grandchildren. So when they see, oh gosh, it's protecting the environment too. So it becomes, we sit to a meal, it becomes a whole education, not all at once. It's not a lecture. But hey, you're protecting the environment. That's good. You got more energy. That's good. You're happy and you're healthy. That's good. That's a model for me. You're strong. That's good. So all these things start to make sense. And I'm not creating death in what I'm doing. And so they get this bigger model, bigger than life model, so to speak, of a healthy grandparent, and with a healthy way of life. And all those things are really, really important in the big picture. Now, we talked about mental state also. Really starting in the 50s, people presently are moving into more rapid loss of cognitive power. I'll put it gently that way. And again, we see, for a variety of reasons, which I pointed out in my books, vegans don't necessarily develop that cognitive decline in the same way, or as soon, so to speak, because it's happening earlier and earlier in the people eating toxic, non-organic, and a meat-based diet. So they also see, oh, they're thinking. Now, I can't tell you the kids are actually thinking about that exactly, because they're not worried about cognitive decline in the same way. We do know that since they really did a lot of the vaccinations starting in 1989, I mean, those were before that, kids have about 7 times more chronic diseases than not. And so, again, where I'm going with that is kind of a model of health. And when they see your lifestyle, including not getting shots that can affect them in certain ways, that's important. So the big message is seeing is believing. Grandparents, by their example, are more believable. And you make a bigger impression. Like we took my daughter Sailesh in Israel. I'm presently living in Israel. And we did a tour of Israel. And, they would run ahead. I would run ahead with them. If there's a hill, I'm running up the hill with them, and mom and dad are kind of like walking up after, and it's like they love it. The kids love someone who can play with them at their level and can run up hills with them and do, run ahead. And it's a whole, again, a fun message to kind of like, okay, we're going to run up the hill, boom. Or we're going to climb on these ruins, and we're climbing, and I'm climbing right with them. Or a little ahead of them sometimes too. But that's another, that's me. But the point is, they love it that you can play with them at that energetic level. And in my observations, vegans do have more endurance, pretty significantly, 2 to 3 times more, and can play at a much higher energy level. So the kids, they like it. They like it. So those are kind of an overview of the role of grandparent, which is seeing is believing. You're the living example of where this goes when they can't quite imagine in their own lives, because it's really hard for kids to imagine that if you give them a number. It's much easier to say, well, my grandpa is this way. If I live the way he lives, that's going to happen for me too. So those are kind of the bigger pictures of fun, and it's having fun. you got energy, you got love, you're just buzzing around with them, and they're a level playmate, especially when it's grandpa. So my blessing to everyone as we start this new year, may we be really turned on, energetic grandparents that can inspire not only our own grandchildren, but all the grandchildren of the world to live a life of love and peace and higher harmony of the meaning of I am so. Amen.
Oh, thank you so much, Rabbi Cousens. And I guess my only question is, are you joining the Million Vegan Grandmothers and Grandfathers? Are you going to join us? We want your energy.
I'm happy to do that.
Great.
I'm happy that you just kind of write me and tell me how to do it.
Great.
But yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I love it. I mean, but we got to put the grandfather part in there too, okay?
Okay.
Or grandparents.
Right.
That's the way I try to write about it.
Great.
And it is true. Men are not as thoughtful about their diet. That's for true. But in qualities of longevity, we call fastidiousness. Women are more particular. But there are men like myself who are also fastidious and pay attention. And that way we encourage the men actually to get on board. If you get what I'm saying. Okay.
Thank you so much. We recognize you have another commitment. We're going to go on to do some demos on beautiful chakra, throat, and violet food. And again, Dr. Gabriel Cousens, thank you so much for your work and all the hundreds of thousands of people's lives that you have enriched because of you're certainly the living representation of 80, like going to be 80. That is this year, I believe, right?
Well, 79. Well, I'm going to say 79 is a better way to put it.
Thank you.
But anyway, it's just enjoying life.
Right.
And encouraging the kids to enjoy life, knowing there's a future here. Because what kids are seeing today, and it's really important to get, they're not necessarily seeing a future.
Very important. Very important. Judy Carmen, who coined Homo Ahimsa in her last book, says that is the most important thing, that we give people hope right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So good. Thank you all, and please write me, Tami, so I'll join the Million Vegan Grandparents. Okay?
Wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, Sailesh and everybody else.
Thank
John Edwards, a fellow Essene down here. Reverend Beth Love from Eat.
Good. Excellent. This is fun, and I'm happy to play whenever. Okay?
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, blessings.
Thank you for your blessings. Thank you.
Good. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Native American Om Takulasa. Okay, very good.
Take it away then. Yeah.
So that was a beautiful beginning to our 5th day. We're doing a little bit of an extended day today because Gabriel Cousens wasn't able to meet with us yesterday, so he came this morning instead before his next meeting. And I'm going to introduce and my dear friend, beloved friend, John Edwards, a fellow Essene, and he doesn't like me to use the word, but high priest in the Essene ministry, and working right now for a spiritual teacher, Dr. J.J. the Hertogs as assistant. So thank you, John, for holding presence here today. It always matters. Your prayers, I reach out to John as a grandmother who sometimes feels a little bit heavy in the world, and I'll say, John, would you please say a prayer for me and bless me? And he does that all the time for me. So I want to thank you for your love and your support in my life. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I am going on to introduce Reverend Beth Love. Before we have a pre-recorded video, because it seems like this is the day of speaking our truth as grandparents, our throat chakra, our ability to use our words in the highest divine. I'm going to ask Reverend Beth Love if she would do a little invocation as the power of words, and then to go on to do her live demo with her beautiful purple hummus, and then we will end with a pre-recorded video of purple food that I did with my granddaughter, because I can't have her here live, and I really want to bring home the message of the energy of preparing food with our grandchildren, being part of the energy of preparing food. My grandson Phoenix, before he could walk, I would prop him up on the counter. My daughter just sent me a photo recently of a little video that she had taken, and he wasn't able to walk, but he would be on the counter feeding the juicer and making green juice with me. And some of my most cherished memories. Yeah. So Reverend Beth Love is a beautiful spiritual gift to the grandmothers, and the founder of Eat for the Earth. And she can tell you a little bit more about that. We just did a beautiful extravaganza of food that she was raising money to help educate the physicians and the people around the power and the healing in just a short time, just a few days, with plant-based nutrition. So Reverend Beth Love, take it away.
And let us just take a deep breath together. Let's take another deep, deep cleansing breath. It was so amazing to hear Dr. Cousens talk about all that energy that we have as vegans, and we also have the power to ground. We also have the power to go deep within to that place of the Most High, in which we remember who we are. We remember that there is only one thing in the universe that is good and only good. It is right here, right now, in every situation, in every circumstance. It is the context in which we live and move and have our being, and it is the very essence of life that breathes through us, that bees through us. And so in this moment, we ground all of that beautiful energy that we have as people who are eating plants, who are not consuming death, and we just put our attention on this power to ground, this power to be present right here, right now, and to remember the simple truth that God is all and God is good, and so therefore all is well. And we go to this place often because we are living in a world in which there is a manifestation of so much that is unlike this perfection. And so we need to come back to this place often and consistently to remember who we are, and to remember that we are here on purpose, that we are here to be the way showers, the healers, the way showers in the sense that Gabriel was talking about with the grandchildren, but also models in the world. And we know from our own experience that when we model, it does provoke people. And sometimes people decide to change based on what they see with our energy and with our love and with our groundedness and with our kindness and with our compassion and with our voice and with our dedication to justice for all life. But sometimes people are provoked to run in the other direction or to make fun of us or to ironize veganism, because we know that everybody at heart is good, everybody at heart is kind, and that everybody knows on some level that killing other beings for their pleasure is wrong. And so we are willing to stand in it all. We are willing with our throat chakras to be a voice that is guided and supported as to just what it is that is ours to say in every moment, just when it is ours to not say something, but to just be something. And we are guided to know that there is a truth that is truer than all of this movement in the world, than all of these machinations, and all of this transformation that is occurring. And yes, I name it transformation. I name even the pushback transformation. I name even the grace transformation. It's all transformation. And so as we are transforming not only ourselves, but all of the human presence on this earth, we know that we can be a transformational healing presence. So we use our voice, we use our hearts, we use our love, we use our energy, we do push-ups. We know that love prevails. Thank you, beloved one. Thank you for this opportunity to come together with illustrious, individualized manifestations of you to bring about that vegan world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We see it, we know it is possible, and we just allow this to be, knowing this or something better now manifests. Thank you, thank you, thank you, beloved one. And so it is. Amen. Thank you so much for having me on, Tami, on the purple day. Purple is my favorite color. People may think I only own one shirt because I wear some similar shirt to this every time I'm in this kitchen doing a demo. And I love purple food, and I just love the energy of purple. It makes me feel good when people are wearing purple. And the throat, I have a special relationship with the throat chakra too. It might sound like my voice is a little harsh today because, as Tami mentioned, we were doing an event. It was on Friday, and I was doing food demos from 9 a.m. to midnight. So I kind of lost my voice a little bit, but it's coming back because of the regenerative power of this body when you're feeding it the right fuel. So purple is good. And then I also have a very big love for the throat chakra because one of my totem animals is the crow. And when I see crows, which I do frequently, not just see common crows, they're everywhere, but when I see a whole road full of crows just when I need it, or one flies right toward my face, I know that it's time for me to speak up and to say what it is that I have on my mind and not be worried about how people are going to take it or how they're going to feel. And so I'm really grateful to be here on the day of the throat chakra. And what I'm going to demonstrate for you is purple sweet potato hummus. Okay, so hummus is really healthy just the way it is, except some people add salt, which is unnecessary. If you need it salty, you can add more lemon. Or if you don't have problems with high blood pressure or other problems, which you should avoid salt altogether, you can add a little bit of umi vinegar. Try that. Or umeboshi vinegar, or a little bit of light miso, because then you get some nutrition and some probiotics with your sodium. Okay, so we're going to start with the purple sweet potatoes instead of chickpeas. So chickpeas are perfectly healthy for those that eat cooked food. These are cooked as well. I steamed these sweet potatoes. I mean, look how beautiful these are. Look at. I just want to put some up to the camera. They're just such a gorgeous color. Like, it's almost perfectly matches my shirt. It blends in. So, I mean, look at those beautiful purple sweet potatoes. So I like to be fun and creative and playful in the kitchen. And I love to make hummus out of chickpeas as well, but you don't need chickpeas to make hummus. You can make chickpeas out of raw veggies. There's a number of raw veggies. One of my favorites was when I had some Romanesco, which is a kind of cauliflower or broccoli that has the Fibonacci spiral in it, or whatever that's called. And it was particularly sweet because it was grown in the winter and it was kind of a cold winter. And when I made some raw hummus out of that, it was so delicious. It was the same ingredients that I'll use here, same ingredients you'll use with chickpeas. You just use a different base, right? So the basic ingredients you want to use are lemon juice and your base. And I'm just going to start with about 1 lemon. We'll add more if we need it. That was 2 lemons. And then some tahini. If you're concerned about fat, first order of business is eat whole plant foods for your fat. So eat nuts, seeds, avocados, and they're high in fat and they're high in calories. So you don't want to fill your plate with them. You won't be able to. You'll get too full. But eat unless you add a lot of. Never mind. I'm not going to go on that tangent because there's a lot of processed vegan foods that are super high in saturated coconut oil and other oils and super caloric, not healthy food. Just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. This is some pretty runny tahini, and I'm going to go for about 1/4 cup. But if you're concerned about fat, put in 2 tablespoons, see if it's enough, and then add some more if you need it. That's probably about 1/4 cup. I like to have plenty of tahini. Everybody in our home is thin, and we don't eat any fats other than whole plant fats, seeds, nuts, and avocados. And avocados grown on our tree in Santa Cruz, California. And And so we don't worry about it. We eat the seeds and the nuts. They're really super healthy. In fact, Dr. Michael Greger will point out through some videos that he has that for some reason, even though nuts are very high in fat, people who eat nuts don't gain weight. If you add nuts to the diet, they don't gain weight, and some people actually lose weight, potentially because of the satiation factor. They may be eating less calories than something else. So I decided to chop the garlic right now instead of doing it last night, so it'll be more fresh. So I'm going to start with 2 cloves, and then that's the final ingredient. So, traditionally in the Middle East, hummus, I had the best hummus of my life when I was in Israel. It was kind of cool to hear Dr. Gabriel talking about Israel, but it was some really yummy hummus. One of the really cool things when I was in Israel is we went to a traditional restaurant, and almost all the food was vegan. And it was mostly kind of whole food. It did have oil in it. It did have salt. But, hummus, baba ganoush, pita bread, what's the other one? Falafel. These things are whole food, plant-based, like the foods of most traditional cultures, right, are largely plant-based, indigenous foods. So let's go back. Let's decolonize the food supply and go back to traditional ways of eating and just leave out the small amounts of animal products that we used to eat in most traditions. My heritage is from that area. I am Jewish by my tribe, by my family. So I'm just going to put that much garlic in. I didn't have to chop it up a lot because I'm going to let the food processor do that. And then I'm going to process. And I know from watching a video that I did the other day that when I process, you won't be able to hear me. Because somehow through the magic of technology, at least it worked this way on Zoom, it took the sound out because of the food processor sound, so you won't be able to hear me. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to process until it's smooth, and I like to dance with my food processor so I can help move the food onto the blade while I'm processing. So I trust that if it's different on the StreamYard platform and it's really noisy, Dr. Rao, you will mute me. But here we go. I'm going to process this. What I've noticed is that when I dance with it like that and dump the food onto the blade, it doesn't pile up on the sides as much, and I can scrape it down less frequently, but you probably will need to scrape it down once or twice. It's pretty thick. I didn't add any additional liquid other than the lemon juice and the liquid that's in the lemon juice. If your food processor has a problem with it, just add a little bit of stock or water, vegetable stock or water, or aquafaba, which is the liquid from cooking beans. That would be good in there. Aquafaba is viscous like oil, so it's a nice thing to add some oil-like texture without all those calories from the oil and without the artery clogging properties of oil and without the inflammation associated with it. I'm going to go again. Let's see. I'll make sure this is closed and get it a little smoother. Oh, it's not coming on. Okay. Okay, maybe that's as smooth as it's going to get. Okay, that might be as smooth as it's going to get today. Let me try. Oh, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Sometimes the blade, if the food is really hard, the blade can pop up. So let's hope that's what's going on. The blade popped up a little bit. And my food processor is very smart. It's not going to go if it's not ready. Okay, it's still not ready. Alrighty, we're going to call this done. It's pretty good. I'll make it smoother later. So you can see it's this beautiful color, really beautiful color. It's not as vibrant as it was before I put the tahini in. I'm going to taste it. That's so good. It's almost perfect. What I'll do afterwards is I'll make sure that this thing can go, and then I will put a little bit more lemon in and make it a little bit smoother, but the garlic is perfect. And And so I'm not going to take it out. I was going to take it out and show it to you in a bowl, but since I'm going to finish it later, I'll just show you how it looks here. Beautiful purple color for our throat chakra day. I'm sure Tami might tell you more about the color purple and what it means, but isn't that beautiful? And it's so tasty, and it's whole food, and it's yummy. You can serve it with, if you want to really emphasize raw foods in your diet, get some crudité, like some celery, some carrots, some jicama, some sunchokes, any kind of a variety, watermelon radishes, and use it to dip in those or spread in there. I make a raw wrap out of mostly carrots with a little bit of golden flax and a little bit of psyllium. I dehydrate it in my dehydrator, so I have this whole sheet of beautiful orange carrot wrap, and then I spread this on and put avocados and piles of sprouts and a little bit of sauerkraut, roll it up and make a pinwheel, and it's really gorgeous. So, or you could, if you're eating more cooked food, dip some crackers, put it on a sandwich. Plenty of ways to eat it. So thank you very much for having me on, and really appreciated being with you all this morning.
Thank you so much, Reverend Beth. We're really, I'm sure you coined the dancing with the food processor. It was something I've never thought about. I just scraped down. So, yes.
I can't take credit for it, actually. We had a housemate who had trained at Living Light Culinary Institute, Harley Evelyn, and he showed me the dancing with the food processor. And I'm not sure if he called it dancing with a food processor, but that's definitely what he showed me. So I'm not going to take credit where it's due to someone else.
Great. We're going to do a little pre-recorded video with my granddaughter Emmy and I making. Today we've combined the blue and purple chakras so that we can make tomorrow about the white day, the power and beautiful purity of all the colors combined into a white. And we'll make some nut and seed nuts that day. It doesn't have to just be almonds. A lot of people think of nut and seed nuts, so we'll be doing that tomorrow. So today, Emmy and I are going to make some purple and blue food. So, Sailesh, were you going to play the pre-recorded video?
Okay, let me get that ready. So can you introduce John and have John say some words of wisdom for us? Okay.
I would love that. John, would you like to say some words of wisdom and maybe a prayer for us today, since we're using our throat chakra to speak power of the word? Mm-hmm. Oh, you're still muted.
Hold on. You're unmuted now.
Thank you, Tami. I appreciate being part of this discussion. As a student of Gabriel Cousens, I really value all that he's contributed, and just feel honored to be here and share some of the experiences that I have personally. I just really appreciate the plant-based diet as being helpful in our being a conduit to the divine. And as we go through life, we often need to reconnect with the divine in various moments where it's in our daily life, just taking that second to pause and really appreciate where we are in the moment and how our contributions can really support humanity. And I really appreciate being part of this group. So in this, I'd like to say a little blessing. Well, Father, we're grateful for all the divine talents that you have bestowed upon us. And as we venture into this life, we are full of gratitude and grace, and that all we do, and we hope that we can connect with humanity in sharing our talents, sharing all our knowledge and our wisdom. And through this diet of really connecting with the plant world and enriching our body, we can be healers for this planet. And we know that in our actions that many will join us, and that the positive attitudes and positive movement that we're creating here will go on to make big changes in a world that will transform and support everyone. So thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, John. I don't hear any volume on it, Sailesh. Emmy was super excited to do this, but when she got on camera, she was very, very shy. I think it takes a little while to get over that, speaking into a camera and feeling more energy. Beth, I would really love to see a photo that we could share of what that looks like all dressed up in some wrap at some point. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Oma, and you are? She's the demo. She doesn't talk.
Can you hear that
Today
now?
we're making Emmy's favorite smoothie. Do you want to tell them what you're in your smoothie? Pomegranates. Did that take you a long time to clean those pomegranates up? Oh, we have some wild organic frozen blueberries. So about 25 milliliters of those. This is Emmy's recipe that she made up this morning. Okay, let's cucumbers here. Slices of cucumbers. Emmy developed this recipe herself. We normally put a couple of cups of nut milk in here, but we don't have any made right now, or seed milk. So what we're going to use. Okay, what is it? We soak some sunflower seeds and some cashews overnight. And then we rinse them to get rid of something called phytic acid. Phytic acid is the often an enzyme inhibitor that's in most nuts and seeds. So we're going to soak them and rinse them overnight. It's in most nuts, seeds, and beans. So if you can take all of that stuff and soak it overnight and then rinse it well, you get rid of the phytic acid. We can put a couple tablespoons in here. Should be all a little creamier instead of the nut milk. And then we can just add, you can put 3 tablespoons in. Awesome. Okay. And then half a cup of water. Emmy and I ran out of bananas. If there were bananas, she likes banana in her smoothie. This is going to be day 5, and we're going to be demonstrating some beautiful rainbow chocolate food. Today we're going to be working with violet, purple, and so the violet chakra is the third eye, and it allows us deeper vision. So we can just meditate on the beautiful violet and purple. In climate killers, do that. So the importance of preparing food with our children and our grandchildren, allowing them to be part of nourishment. They really actually enjoy the food a lot more if they've made it themselves. My grandson doesn't eat salad, but he'll eat a salad if he gets to chop it himself. So it's really lovely to store everything in jars. You can store them in half-liter, 500-milliliter, 2-cup jars, or 4-cup jars, depending on where you're at. We're in the metrics here. You can get a lot of jars in one refrigerator, so it's the ultimate way to store. Plastic is kind of obsolete. Give that a taste test. Is that good? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Please join us for day 5 of our smoothie demo. But we're going to make more that day. We're going to make a beautiful purple water. We're also going to make potato salad. Yeah, those potatoes out of Oma's garden. Great.
I appreciated what Gabriel said about growing food with our children, and it can be as simple as a jar sprout of food. So we went on to demonstrate a purple water and some potato salad. The recipes are you see Reverend Beth Love is getting hers a little bit cleaner. The recipes are in the 7 days of rest and sacred renewal in Global People, and also on 7 days of rest. So on 7 days of rest with Dr. Shelley Ostroff and Jan Golding, I am teaching on deep nourishment. So here we are on our Purple Blue Day. Thank you, everyone, for joining here today.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Tami, I did get a picture of the pinwheel wraps up if you want me to share it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, that would be great.
Let's see if I can share.
I'm going to talk about the purity of white, and we're going to make some nut and seed waters and let people know how easy it is to avoid all that packaging that we do. We're making a colored water, a beautiful infused water every morning, because we don't need to be buying pots, we don't need to be buying sodas, we don't need to be buying infused waters or mineral waters and all that waste and packaging. We also don't really need to be buying a lot of seed and nut melts. I'm not anti-seed and nut melts, but I'm saying that we can really stop all this packaging so easily. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. And Reverend Beth Love is going to show us a photo of what this hummus looks like, all dressed up in wraps and vegetables and healthy whole fats like avocados and sprouts. And while she's grabbing that, I'm going to grab my jar of sprouts from the fridge and ask everybody, how are your sprouts sprouting? Here's my jar of mung bean sprouts. Look at the tails on these now. They continue sprouting in the fridge. And all I used, I'm still going to rinse them once a day in the fridge, but all I used was some screen from the door and some elastics that were on my broccoli. They sell really expensive sprouting roots, like with sprouts and seeds that you're sprouting, because many seeds also sprout. Almonds sprout. They're way more bioavailable when they're sprouted. So try it. Try to sprout your seeds and nuts this month as we carry on and we continue talking about we don't need trays necessarily. We can have a couple jars of fresh food going all the time, even in winter climates. So we demonstrated this a few days ago, and I hope everyone has their sprouts on. Okay, Beth, finish off with a photo for us of your food. No?
List for some reason, so it's really gorgeous. I can send it to you, and maybe you could let people know another way.
Better yet, Reverend Beth Love, the last day, in 2 more days from now, we're having our big rainbow people party. So please come, and maybe you can dress or wrap up for us and show us a couple things that you've done with that. We're going to share. Everyone's going to come with a dish of rainbow food. So if you're available that day and you can share with us, that would be great. Thank you, everyone.
I'll check my schedule. Thank you so much for the invitation.
We'll see you tomorrow. Namaste, vegan.